Hello, I'm Stewart Bryant, G3YSX. I'm the 75th President of the Radio Society of Great Britain, and I am going to give you a review of the RSGB's activities for 2021. We are filming this at the Bawdsey Radar Museum in Suffolk, which is the site of the world's first operational radar station. Radar was developed here in the 1930s by a small team, several of whom were radio amateurs. And the story goes that the only technical publication they had was the Radio Amateur's Handbook, published by the RSGB. Radar was one of the most important electronic technologies to be developed, not only for its original defence and later safety of life purposes, but also as one of the incubators of the semiconductor technologies that have so transformed our lives. I regret that once again we're having to do this meeting remotely. We had hoped to meet face to face this year, but two factors combined to make this impossible. Firstly, there was concern over an infection spike at what we hope is the tail end of the COVID pandemic. There was also significant disruption to rail services due to engineering works on the planned meeting date, and these stretched from as far north as Glasgow all the way to the south coast. I will be at many events during the year and will be pleased to speak to anyone about RSGB matters. Most of the board will be at the convention in October, and we will try to find a way to speak to members face to face before that. In the past year, we have seen the passing of many amateur radio friends and colleagues. Regrettably, we have time to reflect on just a few. Our patron, the Duke of Edinburgh, sadly passed away on the 9th of April 2021. The RSGB was honoured to have been invited to his memorial service at Westminster Abbey on the 29th of March, where John Rogers, M0JAV, and myself paid our respects to our patron. We mark the passing of colleague Giles Reid, G1MFG, RSGB technical editor, a skilled engineer, a friend to many, who was suddenly taken away well before his time. Philip Brooks, G4NZQ, former member of the board, member of many RSGB committees and a cornerstone of the GB2RS service. And Tom O'Reilly, G0NSY, a popular member of the RSGB regional team. A moment's silence for these and our other departed friends. During 2021, COVID continued to severely restrict what we could do through much of the year. The level of restriction waxed and waned as the year progressed until finally, as I record this, the end does seem to finally be in sight. The National Radio Centre volunteers responded to the constantly changing rules and regulations and opened whenever it was safe to do so. The NRC team was boosted by an additional 12 volunteers to the team in 2021, and these helped us to keep the NRC open. Despite the COVID restrictions, nearly 57,000 visitors were introduced to amateur radio at the National Radio Centre in the year 2021. The RSGB membership is at its highest level in 11 years. We welcome many that have returned to amateur radio and then joined the RSGB, as well as those that have joined us for the first time. We believe that we have the largest growth in IARU Region 1. This is contra to the historic trend, and on behalf of us all, I thank RSGB members and staff that made this possible. One of the most successful methods used to build RSGB membership was online exams, and we spoke about this last year. In 2021, 3,600 people took remote exams. 2,045 passed at foundation level. This was enabled by 25 invigilators who administered 950 remote examination sessions. From October, club-based exams were resumed, and 43 people have used that approach. Across the 3,600 I mentioned earlier, the youngest was 8 and the oldest was 92. 199 were below 25 years of age, and 50% of those that took the intermediate licence in 2021 also took foundation licence in the same year. I thank the RSGB volunteers that made this possible, as well as those who provided the online training, face-to-face training and coaching mentoring that was behind this. I would like to extend a thank you to all of the RSGB committees, without whom much of what we deliver would not be possible. One committee, the EMC committee, I would like to call out especially. EMC plays a critical role in addressing a number of its existential threats to amateur radio. One of their work items was EMF. Under public pressure, Ofcom made changes to licences requiring an EMF assessment to be made, not just to us, but to all transmitter users. But unlike other users, we had the expertise to deal with this problem. This was a major work item. A number of innovative approaches were applied, including characterising whole classes of antenna to produce a simplified assessment. Work continues particularly below 10 MHz, where it turns out that no one really knows quite how to make these measurements in sufficient detail. This is a leading edge piece of work where the amateur radio community is working to the benefit of all radio users. The ability to conduct EMF assessments was brought to all radio amateurs through an online calculator, 3 videos which have had nearly 20,000 views, and a number of articles in Radcom. Whilst not everyone can continue with their existing antenna configurations, the evidence seems to be that a large proportion of stations can. The EMF licence conditions have been added to the latest version of the exam syllabus, version 1.5. I would also like to talk about contests. Contesting is a popular activity amongst members, and the club nature of many contests promotes operating within clubs that participate. The UKAC series had 800 stations enter and more participating. We ran 214 contests in 2021, 57 of these on HF and 157 on VHF, including 8 of these which were Hope QSO parties, which were part of the Christmas Get on the Air to Care campaign, which continued from last year into 2021. To put this in perspective, approximately 5% of RSGB members enter contests. Approximately half as many again submit logs. And a group as large as those that just submit logs also participate. These numbers are impressive, but remember that the number as a percentage of active radio amateurs is even larger. The RSGB Contest Committee processed 30,000 logs in 2021, and of these 2,723 were from the IOTA contest. There are 1,100 subscribers to the contest newsletter, and the contesting committees have been experimenting with new types of contests such as 2-metre FT8 and from 2022 70-centimetre FT8. I'd now like to talk about the Legacy Committee. The Legacy Fund is a sum of money donated to the RSGB and used for the development of amateur radio as a whole. The RSGB welcome proposed projects to support long-term common good in amateur radio. One of the projects recently approved was to add an amateur radio trailer to the Royal Signals Museum at Blandford. This was co-sponsored with the RSGB and a number of suppliers, and it was opened in September 21. It will be used both at the museum and in the surrounding areas to demonstrate amateur radio to the public. We also approved funding of a 50 MHz beacon project at the Sherwoods Observatory of Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society to study meteor events over the UK. This represents collaboration between the amateur radio and the radio astronomy community. More details of this will be given in the talk at the end of the AGM. This year, the RSGB also approved funding for some private mobile radio equipment to be used for training scouts in the operation of radio systems. And we are always on the lookout for project proposals that advance amateur radio and wireless communications, and hope that this message stimulates further project proposals. The RSGB convention is always a highlight of the year. Again, we were online with an anchor at the National Radio Centre. We had 5,000 views on the day, which was 38% up from last year. There were 800 new viewers, and these viewers were from the United States, from Australia, from the Netherlands, from Norway, from Spain and many other countries. We had our youngest ever presenters, the Steamettes, who were 11-year-old girls, and the A in Steamettes is because they do arts as well as the sciences. The keynote talked about the connection between amateur radio and mainstream science. Here, Catherine Mitchell, M0IBG, from the University of Bath, spoke about the connection between radio technology and space sciences. I enjoyed making 190 QSOs using the call sign GB4RS from the NRC during the event. And these included my first 9 on QO100. All the convention talks are available on the RSGB YouTube channel, and you can catch up with any that you missed or wish to watch again from the YouTube series. We encourage you to subscribe to the RSGB YouTube channel so as to not miss any new content that we publish. Continuing on the theme of video, the Tonight at 8 webinar series streams an eclectic mix that covers all aspects of amateur radio. In the year 2021, we streamed 11 programs which had 33,000 views. I would like to give a special thanks to David, G7URP and Tammy, M0TC, for donating their time and production skills to this work. Thanks also to the time and work of the volunteers and staff that work in the background to make this happen. And thanks, of course, to all of the speakers. Tonight at 8 has continued with the Summer 2022 series just in gestation. Continuing further on videos, the RSGB has also produced the Do You Know series. These are really short videos, and so far we have covered propagation, planning, GB2RS, EMF and membership. Continuing with self-education, which is of course a key aspect of amateur radio, the RSGB has a product catalogue of 285 items, which are mostly publications. And we added 18 new publications in the year 2021. In 2021, we shipped 40,000 items. These items are not only of educational benefit, but profits contribute to the funding of our many activities. Then there is Radcom, together with its sister publications, Radcom Basics and Radcom Plus. Radcom published 250 club stories, 200 technical pages, 109 feature pages, 68 review pages in 2021. The Radcom archive, going back to October 2013, is available free to members online. And much of the radio communications back catalogue is available to purchase on CD or on memory key. I'd now like to talk about the IARU, the International Amateur Radio Union. This is the coordinating body that coordinates the work of many member societies such as the RSGB. This is not, of course, a substitute for the member societies themselves. The IARU is divided into 3 regions, and Region 1 consists of 100 member societies representing 100 countries in Europe, Africa and Near Asia. IARU Region 1 met as a group virtually from the 15th to the 24th of October. There were 2 short formal meetings which bookended the Shaping the Future workshop. In addition, Murray Nyman, G6JYB, the Spectrum Forum Chair, and I attended the Region 3 Asia virtual meeting as observers. Shaping the Future was a programme led by Don Beattie, G3BJ, in his role as the IARU Region 1 President, with a view to modernising amateur radio and making it suitable for the future. There was a concern as to whether a virtual workshop like this would work. It worked brilliantly. We started with input as a SWOT analysis, and the RSGB collected the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats opinions from RSGB members, and we published this work in August 2021 in Radio Communication, RADCOM. Thank you for your input to this work. The output of the workshop we also published in RADCOM, and we published that in the February 2022 edition. So I encourage you to look there for more details. We're now entering the planning phase with a series of workshops that would welcome additional volunteers. It is anticipated that the member societies will deliver the modernisation proposals within their own countries, and some funding for this is available from the IARU. The RSGB will certainly take a keen interest in the output and seek to implement anything that we think will be of benefit to amateur radio in the UK. I would like to talk about an important commemorative event that took place in 2021. The first shortwave crossing of the Atlantic happened on the evening of Saturday the 11th of December, Sunday the 12th of December 1921. This was the first shortwave crossing of the Atlantic. This was financially helped by the ARRL, who funded Paul Godley, 2ZE, to cross the Atlantic and establish a receiver, and he heard the first confirmed amateur radio transmission in the UK that originated in the United States. This event had profound effects on history. It started a technology, started an industry, and it started social media with citizens now able to talk to each other across the globe for free. So I'd like to thank the Kilmarnock and Loughton Radio Club for running the commemorative station at Ardrossan, which started the on-air celebration of this historic event. Rick Niswander, KG7GM, and Bob Barden, MD0CCE, each received a Scottish Quaich, which is a drinking cup, donated by GMDX for being the first stations from North America and the United Kingdom to complete contacts with both the ARRL headquarters station W1AW and GB2ZE during the QSO party. The RSGB donated an identical Quaich to the ARRL as a token of thanks for their important contribution to the birth of global shortwave communication in 1922. The RSGB has created a video that commemorates this event and in particular the celebration in Ardrossan. Please take a look at our YouTube channel to see this video. I would like to give a special thanks to Nick Totterdell, G4FAL, the HF contest chair, who in addition to all his contest duties has organised many of the commemorative events at HF that have happened in recent years. I would particularly like to note his innovative use of the RSGB Contest Club, G6XX, which has enabled us to gain and manage the club call sign groups that were key to many of our commemorative events over the past few years. Many clubs are returning to normal post-COVID, but unfortunately by no means all. For a good reason, lots of club members are still unwilling to mix and some venues still have restrictions. The clubs that have met online and adopted hybrid methods seem to be best placed for the future. Rallies are slowly returning, and the big events later in this year, 2022, the Hamfest, the convention and the big overseas shows look like they are returning to the calendar. We face new challenges though. Just as we can see the light at the end of the tunnel with COVID, we face new global challenges such as rising fuel costs, inflation, supply chain issues still remain, and there is still a semiconductor shortage. Fortunately, radio amateurs are a resourceful, innovative community. Amateur radio is a relatively modest cost activity, and radio amateurs share knowledge and help each other through difficulties. Despite the dreadful personal and financial consequences of COVID, we have emerged stronger than we were before this misfortune fell on the world. I'm sure these new challenges will also make us stronger. On a lighter note and a happier note, there are a number of festive commemorative events in 2022 to look forward to. The BBC, the benchmark of public broadcasting, is currently celebrating 100 years of broadcasting. The Platinum Jubilee of Her Majesty the Queen will take place this year, and we have many events planned. See Radcom for details, but also watch the RSGB website, which will always have the latest information and details of any changes. I would like to call out thanks to Alan Messenger, G0TLK, for leading this work on behalf of the RSGB. This year we'll also see the Commonwealth Games with events planned. Again, see Radcom and of course the RSGB website for the latest information. It just remains for me to thank Bawdsey Radar Museum for their hospitality during this recording, and I would encourage you to visit this interesting museum.